Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Clark County Fire District 6 Board of Commissioners meeting, August 18th, 2020. We finished our workshop on the strategic plan. We were going to take a 5-minute break, but it took a little bit longer because of technical difficulties. So with that said, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to ask for any additions to the agenda.
None here.
None here.
Then we need to read and approve the minutes of the August 4th, 2020 regular meeting. Need a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, moved and approved, and post the minutes as necessary for the August 4th, 2020 regular meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Correspondence?
None.
No correspondence. We're going to move on to citizen communication. If anybody has any questions as we go along, especially when we get to the strategic plan items, if you have questions, type them in the chat, and we will address those as we go. So questions are welcome at any time. Committee reports, health and safety report.
So there is one report. We had a strained shoulder and a strained low back recently. One exposure that had blood with intact skin. And then we had 2 different incidences at Station 6-2 with damage to both the engines and the bay doors. One of those was an insurance claim and the other one was not.
How come they both weren't, I guess, is my question.
One was not a high enough amount of damage to
Okay, didn't meet the
get a
deductible.
claim.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on health and safety? Hearing none. Trade, risk management, triple FB, there's nothing, so I'll call your attention to the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen. Chief's report. Overtime summary.
Total overtime for the month of July was $44,649.59. The majority of that being shift replacement and BC callback.
Okay. Just keep going right forward there, Chief.
And the budget performance report for 6212, general fund fire suppression, anticipated expenditures would be 67%. We have expended 54%. And for EMS, the anticipated expenditures would be 67%, and we have expended 77%. August payroll had already been deducted in those figures. And also all of our COVID expenses have been coming out of EMS. So we're submitting for reimbursement through FEMA for those.
What's the likelihood of being reimbursed in its entirety?
So Chief Russell has been working with the state and FEMA to get that reimbursement, and it sounds like everything that we've submitted they feel will be reimbursed. And we're right at just a little over $42,000.
Good job tracking that.
That was Chief Russell did that.
Way to go, Chuck.
Go to facilities if you'd like.
Hang on, I gotta add Chief Newberry, and he'll give us a facilities report.
Commissioner Wasserbeck, Chairman. Let me mute myself real quick here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Now we can.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay, so as far as the facilities report is concerned, Station 62 is really pretty much turnkey. We have a few light issues still out there, kind of secondary to our work. They're trying to resolve some other issues. We kind of screwed up some other things with the programmer from the manufacturer, but we're working on those things. Station 63, we had our SCBA compressor delivered and installed and tested, which is exciting. It's kind of one of the last big things we had in the building. And so that's up and running right now, and it's a great addition to our facilities. Considering the landscaping, we've had some challenges with the landscaping at 63 with a very poor lawn and a lot of shrubbery and trees that have died. We have met with the landscape contractor, the general contractor, and the architect. They have delivered us a plan on how they're going to fix all those problems, and we're working through that right now. We're holding our feet to the fire to make sure that we get good results. And our best advocate so far has been McKinsey with getting us very competent and thorough review of our problems. It's been good. Unfortunately, the Japanese cable we moved down from the old Station 63 appears to have died, and we don't know if that was because of the soil conditions or the water conditions or just the shock of trying to move a plant like that. But we're going to let it sit until the fall and see if it does anything to recover, but it doesn't look good. So unfortunately, that's not a warranty issue because we did that on our own risk, knowing that it could possibly die, but it's unfortunate because it was a very nice addition to the place. So signage. We met with an electrician and Vancouver Signs a few weeks ago, right after our last board meeting. They are completing their proposal. They said they would have it to us by the end of this week, and we're pretty happy with it. I'm excited to be able to share that with you to show you what it's going to look like. And then finally, the monument sign at Station 63 is being built, and we know that it's going to be, they're confident it's going to be installed this month. I'm confident they'll be installed before the end of September, so we'll see how things work out on that. I had a discussion with Candace, our artwork and interiors lady today, and she has most of our stuff that's in production. There's a few final pieces that we're trying to still figure out how we're going to do because the quality of the images weren't adequate to make nice, big, kind of, jaw-dropping presentations. So we just wanted to make sure that we had the right thing for that. So we're still working on that. As far as the training tower is concerned, phase 2, it's well underway. Framing's complete, and siding is about 95% complete. As I reported last board meeting, we have this conflict with the handrails and the guardrails going up into the stairwells, and the the manufacturer has agreed to replace those, all of those guardrails to make sure that they're correct. And we're anticipating their arrival about September 4th, which is good. I was anticipating that was going to take a lot longer, but looks like it's a good deal. Final grade rough grade is underway today. They put the elevation spikes in the driveway, so we know exactly what the grade's going to be for the training tower area. It looks really good. They're going to do a final grade, and we're hoping that at the end of next week and then the following week we're doing concrete and paving. Fencing started on the phase 2. We've got the gate poles in the ground, and the fencing has been routed around the reader board out there on 134th Street, so it looks really good. We had the electrician out to create a proposal for the tower. We were waiting until it was mostly erected so that we could get a really good feel for what we needed in that space. The electrical contractor sent his proposal, and that's with Chief Maurer right now. And it's below the normal approval threshold for the board, so I'm anticipating that we'll be able to move forward with that at her discretion. The projected completion date for the project is September 15th. That was postponed from August 28th. With these handrails, guardrails not arriving until September 4th, and the fact that we're still waiting on concrete, I'm not confident that we're going to be done by September 15th, but I'll know more on Thursday after our owner, architect, and contractor meeting. And then last board meeting, I failed to update the change order spreadsheet for your review, and I apologize for that, but I've since uploaded it for your review in Dropbox, and if you have any questions, I'm available to answer those. Well, one additional thing, Chief Maurer, I don't want to overstep, but is this where I would talk about what was requested about the overall project price?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me get into that document real quick. So last board meeting, there was a request for us to give you an idea of where we are on the total cost of the project. I believe that was the request. And so, just for review, the original contract was for almost just barely shy of $10 million, $9,997,732. There has been a change orders in the amount of $1,080,360 for a total of $11,078,092. We have given retainage of $101,375.60. We are still holding on to some retainage for the completion of the training tower and the lawn. And we have an outstanding balance or a payment that was posted. It's to be paid this month in the amount of $447,772.52, which would remain just shy of $200,000 at $196,406.86.
So, is this a good time to ask a question?
I'm sorry?
Is this a good time to ask a question or make a statement?
Sure.
Okay. So, percentage-wise, you kept the change orders down to 10%, roughly. $1 million change orders on $10 million project, that's 10%, the change orders.
Yes.
Usually, 20% is top of the line for that. So I guess I would say we're looking pretty good if we're at the mid-range for acceptable change orders.
Well, I appreciate your confidence. I'd have to look back in the original budgeting documents to tell you what we were hoping for on that. It would take me a few minutes just to find that document, but
It's okay.
I would agree with you that we were hoping for 5%, but it looks like we're at 10%. But that also includes this project is inclusive of Station 62 and 61. So this was a huge project with a lot of variables on a remodel, and I think that the original planning process has proven to have done a fairly good job, considering that our contingencies were probably closer to. I didn't rely on my documents or talking to Chief Maurer, but I think we're right in line.
Okay. Yeah, there's a difference between contingencies and change orders. So we changed the number of the contingencies once we found out about the core drilling and the shell shock that we got on that. So we changed that number early on.
Well, but the change orders are built. The change orders come out of the contingency line item, and so it was budgeted to a certain level, and I'd have to just spend a few minutes finding that original budget document. Chief Maurer might have something more off the top of her head, but I think we're pretty close.
It gets me what I was interested in, but we changed the contingency number after we knew about the core drilling. We took that out and put that in the known number and took it out of the contingency, and so that actually helped the look of that early on.
Chief Newberry, really quick, Chief. Obviously, we have people working on the training tower. We have concrete and asphalt and some other stuff yet to do. On top of the $1 million that we're over right now, do you have any sort of a guess on where we're going to end up with them still being there working?
Well, I don't anticipate any large change orders, and so if they have already included all of their change orders to date, which I believe they have, and the rest of the project stays on budget, we shouldn't have any more additional big change orders. There may be some smaller ones. We had to change some hydrants. One of the hydrants was put in at a grade that was about 8 feet above our working grade, and so we had to change that. Obviously, we had to change the oil water separator, and so some of those things might still come into play, but I don't see any huge ones other than those.
Okay, so we've spent the 10, and then we put another $1 million in that we had set aside.
Correct.
But what I'm saying is that we've blown through that, so the work they're doing right now at the site is additional money from what we initially bid, or is that included in the bid?
That's included in the bid, and there's a balance that they have yet to collect of about $196,406.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay.
So we are close. Good.
Hey, thank you for the update.
You're the
Yeah, I
expert.
appreciate it.
You're the
As we
expert
get
now,
close-
Sean. We got one more to go.
Yeah.
I think the next one might go more smoothly, but and I also want to say one last thing, and I know that we've had some issues with our architect up to date. They have been very helpful most recently, and I will also say that everybody that does projects seems to have problems with their architect, and at least we know what our problems are. At least we know what our shortcomings are for the next project. So I guess I just want to throw it out there. Let's be open to what the stars present us next project as far as architects.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Okay, Chief Maurer, COVID-19 update. I think we have that in our packet.
That is in your packet. So the latest update from the MPD as of August 11th was 2,121 positive tests and 42 deaths in Clark County.
And 98665 is one of the hot spots.
And other than that, we're just all wearing masks and still using all COVID precautions within the facilities.
Any other questions concerning the Chief's report? Okay.
Done here.
Moving on, we're gonna go to old business, and we have the vacant maintenance position.
So for the maintenance position that we advertised, we got over 100 applicants. Chief Newberry worked through those applications, narrowed it down to 12, which him and Arnie conducted interviews on last week. They've presented me with the top 5, and we'll bring those in for chief interviews next week. But they were very pleased with all the candidates that they interviewed.
Excellent.
That's great.
Any other old business? Okay, we're going to go to new business, and I'm going to move the strategic plan down as the last item because we're going to have to vote on that. And if you want to talk to us about hiring a new position and replacements, I think we went through that in the plan. I don't know. Do we need to pull anything out from what she presented in the strategic plan? Is there any questions concerning new positions and replacements, vehicle replacement process, and station redesign? I don't want to waste anybody.
No, the new position. I mean, that was kind of new, coming out, and the thought behind that and the starting period. So if we approve this whole thing as is that all of a sudden we're buying it lock, stock, and barrel? Is that it?
Well, we are as far as personnel goes. Obviously, the vehicle replacement, if we're going to spend $550,000 a new engine, that has to be approved by the board. But as far as the hiring and replacement, as far as, starting September 1st to try to find folks, that would be included. The replacement process would be included, but they'd have to consult us when it came time to actually purchase. And then the station redesign is just a matter of putting out an RFQ for architectural applications. So we are much voting on the thing as a package. They'll have to come back to us with vehicles because they're all going to be over 20,000, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm good with everything. I just are my fellow commissioners okay with this other position? We're creating a new position to parallel the PIO. It's a prevention position, as I understand it. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that the position is warranted. As the chief highlighted, reducing risk is a part of the greater prevention process, and I think that would definitely enhance the fire district's service delivery as we move forward. There's a definite benefit that can be brought from that position.
I'd like to know details of whether, but
I think she said that they were going to start the process. When they actually get to the point where they want to put somebody on, they need to bring a job description to us with a potential salary. So it's not a done deal. They aren't going to go out and do that tomorrow. Chief, can you help me out on that? What was your intention?
Yeah, so we wanted to evaluate that position over the next year with possible implementation in 2022.
Yeah, that's the way I read it as well.
you envision that being a bargaining unit position?
Well, that would be all part of the development process. There's people that specifically train to be fire prevention officers that aren't necessarily bargaining unit positions. But, you know, if we have opportunity of internal candidates, yes, we would definitely look at those too. It's just that's a position we feel we need, and we want the ability to be able to develop that job description and what that would do for us.
Yeah. I just wanted to know, because I just had the fire marshal's office at my place today, going door to door. I was like, well, some places only open on Saturday. It's like, well, I'm not coming back on Saturday, she said. And I was like, okay, well, anyway, so we're overlapping services. At some of that, I'm sure we will be. And do they have any enforcement? Will they be writing tickets? And so I'm sure you'll develop all that stuff.
Correct.
They won't be doing any. We went through this before, Casey. They won't be doing any enforcement. We have our own pre-fire plans on most of the commercial properties, which we've fallen behind because the guys are running so many calls they don't have to do them. Right. We haven't done high risk assessment on some of the structures we have in the district, and then we want to reach out to the community. We want to start doing some prevention for older folks, whether it be fall prevention or smoke detector checks. I think as the chief develops it, it'll make more sense. We aren't voting right now today to make that a position. We're saying go ahead with the process, develop it, and come back to us with it. So it's not a done deal.
Yeah, I can agree to that. I just
okay.
Wanted to kind of know the overlap.
The bullet point that's hiring new positions and replacements, that's actually talking about the fire suppression personnel staffing that was discussed in the strategic plan.
I don't know, this is kind of a lateral question, but along the lines of us hiring Chief Maurer, would the volunteer points apply towards volunteer points for preferential points for hiring at this point? Can they carry those forward into the hiring process?
Well, we'd have to look at it. The problem the volunteers will have is, since we haven't had them responding with COVID, is they may not have the shifts and the hours to apply those as written in
right.
policies now.
I was wondering if there was any way to take that into consideration if anybody was in good standing at that point when they were cut off, if they could retain those preferential points, much like a veteran would.
I'll have to go back and look at that. I'm not sure that that's not written into policy, and so if that's the case, we may have to come back to the board, but
right.
We can definitely look at that before we start the process.
Yeah,
it is definitely a policy we would have to change for the COVID event if we want to do that.
Right. I just don't want to be remiss because they've taken some hits, as everybody has. Sure. And we say we're going to hire 10, and all of a sudden, hey, you can't carry your points forward. And it's like, so I'd like to take a hard look at that.
Okay.
That's a good point, Casey. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because we can adjust the policy. I mean, because of the COVID, like the chief said, you really haven't had the opportunity for the hours. So if we could go back to March or whatever, that would probably be more fair or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If they had the points going into the new year and they were current at March, you would think that we could make the exception to give them the preferential points going in.
Okay.
Out of the 19, I think we only had one or two that were actually working towards that end. So
Sure. Okay.
I'll be fair to them.
Sorry. Actually, the couple we have tend to score pretty high even without the points. But definitely, I'll look at that and bring that back to the board.
Well, they could get knocked out by a veteran, that didn't serve as a volunteer. So I just want to make sure we don't do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. With that said, we need a motion to formally adopt the 2024 strategic plan.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a moment and thank our folks and thank the community members that did take the time to respond to the online survey process. This is a large document that took a lot of time to create, and I really appreciate that data was used to make these decisions, and I appreciate the newly outlined core values for the fire district as sort of guiding principles as we move forward. I think this was a really well-written strategic plan and really helps shape the fire district as we move forward over the next 4 years. So, with that said, I'll make a motion that we approve this strategic plan as it's written.
I'll second that.
And I'll also comment that I don't think we could have got a better strategic plan if we would have hired an outside agency. So I think we're all pleased with Chief and staff, and we appreciate all your efforts. So, With that said, we have a motion and a second to adopt the plan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Any other new? There was one other new business. Commissioner Pfeiffer noticed that in September we'd moved our second meeting date. Can anybody remember why?
I had written down that when we developed the calendar that we moved the 15th date to the 22nd. Commissioner Collins, did you have an event or were you going to be out of town at that time?
What month are we talking about?
September.
I don't know that I have anything going on.
Okay. I may have had my calendars crossed, so.
I got the 15th. It says we're on the 15th.
I do too.
Yep.
First or 15th.
Okay. We'll leave it the way it is, and if we need to jockey something we can. But just wanted to clarify. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and right now we're still on virtual to September, and I bet we get that extended. That's probably going to be into September.
Yeah. We'll wait and see what he does, but I'm sure.
So this is our last meeting of August anyway. So barring no new information. So we'll see.
Okay, is there any other new business? Hearing them, we're going to go to roundtable good of order.
I have one, Commissioner. It's a sad good of the order, but Vancouver Fire recently had a retired firefighter pass away, Doug Murray. They had the services yesterday or today, I believe, but it was limited due to COVID. But we're just keeping them in our thoughts and reaching out to their department to see if they need anything.
Very good, thank you. I was just wondering if we wanted to, as a department, to reach out any of the community members that sent letters to the editor or helped us with the voters pamphlet to give them some sort of recognition. We used to have an annual banquet that we would invite them to, but we really don't do that anymore. So, but I think that we should reach out in some way to thank those people for stepping up.
I would agree with Commissioner Lusbeck. That would be very nice to do. It's nice to have those folks willing to do that.
Yeah, if we just go dark after we are successful and they supported us, it's going to be it's a small gesture that we could afford.
Yeah,
Is that
absolutely.
something we want to do now, or do we wait and maybe a month or two so we can actually have a meeting to invite them to, or do you want to send them something initially, or what's your thoughts?
Letter of thanks immediately.
Okay.
That's what I think, and then we can do something in the future when we know more about our availability. For goodness sake, I haven't even seen the inside of 63. I don't know if you guys have, but
Nope.
So still in mask up mode.
So Chief, could you put something together? Maybe both of us could sign to send to Tony Isla and maybe Sean and anybody else out there you know of.
Yes, I will.
Okay. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
You're welcome.
Any other good of order?
Some not so good news. Anyway, Sunday night and Monday night, two of my properties were compromised in Hazeldale. In the wee hours of the morning, Pat's warehouse got broken into, and then our storage shed last night got bolt cutters. They just picked the lock, and they were bold and brazen and hanging out for like 25 minutes, totally helping themselves. And double barrel got broken into, stole their cash register, stole their POS system. I mean, it's coming our way, guys. Be vigilant.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Anything else? Then I need a motion to authorize August issuance of payroll warrants, authorize August payroll direct deposit, authorize August deposit of federal and FICA medical withholding, authorize pre-authorization invoice transmittals, and authorize payment of current bills.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And with that, the meeting's adjourned, and we will do a quick local board for volunteer firefighters. We have an invoice voucher, apparently.
No, Mr. Chairman, that was an error. There is no need for that meeting.
Okay, with that said, thank you folks that may have tuned in, and we will see you at the next meeting, and we're adjourned. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.